Near, 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 rip a hole in the sun. Welcome to Cum Paude. Why would you cum soft when you can cum louder? Yeah.
Hey, Pouty, hey, welcome back, everybody. We are here for the week 4 Cum Paude updates, cum laude, as they say in this production. We are delivering this here on a Friday, so we have already seen Thursday night football. Congratulations to those of you who had players that scored decent points, and sorry for those of you that had higher expectations for players that were getting their first start after an injury and have a high market price for an individual who actually kind of sucks and is a running back 2 on their team, despite thinking they're running back 1. Hope this message meets you in a well place, or however they say that in the business terms. We are in week 4, and we had a great show in Monday Night Football. El Brian traveled in and treated us to dinner at Glory Holes. We had 2 records that were set this night. One was the most amount of ketchup consumed, as well as the longest time to consume a hamburger. One bite at a time. It was about one bite every 5 minutes, I think. Definitely got finished by the fourth quarter, despite being delivered in the second quarter. Both records go to Scooter, so fantastic. We might think that could have been part of some nerves. The returning champ had to rely on some trash time scoring to get the victory this week. We'll talk about that more. But he has contributed significantly to Justice Hill's charity for breaking a third and long pass to make way for the final touchdown to Marcus Andrews to win his victory and stay 3-0 this week. So congratulations to Scooter on that for setting the Glory Holes records. And also, starting off, his brother really kicked off a flurry of trade movement around the league. While the trades haven't exactly happened, we've had 2 trades, but really got it kicked off, throwing them bombs and exploding deals out to everybody, really getting everybody in the groove and thinking about their teams and thinking about, we're only 3 weeks in, but making some of those adjustments to be competitive this year, with the fact that our league is still early to the point that anybody can make a move. Playoffs are at the reach of everyone. Only one team at 3-0 still right now, but showed some vulnerabilities. Just step back into that handicap stall there at Glory Holes and start sending off bombs and going every which way. So it's exciting. Had a good time with everybody, and I think it really, really sparked something in the league. So we'll have to do that more often. Again, thank you to Brian, our senior member, who was able to use his AARP card and pay for all of us for having a fun night of wings, beer, and a lot of burgers. Monday Burger Night at Glory Holes. Thank you for sponsoring the show tonight. And thank you to all my fans that came up to the table, recognized the podcast, and really appreciate the subscribers. That aside, we do have 2 trades to talk about. First trade is Dame Judi Dench and John's Bussy, really capitalizing on the CeeDee Lamb injury. Jalen Tolbert going to get more carries. He was the WR3 on this team, moving up to WR2.5, sharing it with Fonte Turpin. But we do get a trade there going with a 3rd-round pick and a swapping of Ron Sword and Pubic Medusa's 2nd-round picks. So a lot of this is going to be speculative on how teams finish up this year. But the Bussy does pick up Jalen Tolbert, and we'll see if he gets a lot more action with CeeDee Lamb being out. The second trade that occurred was Tommy Barnes getting rid of Cortland Sutton. So originally, trade comes in for Justin Fields. Counter happens and ends up being Trevor Lawrence getting moved for Cortland Sutton and 2 fab. So when you're dealing with John, there is a transaction fee. $2 a fab has to be included just to make sure that it covers any of his additional expenses for utilizing Sleeper for transactions, or any text messages that go through 10 cents a text message. That covers the fab covers that transaction fee. So that deal does get done. John adds Cortland Sutton to the team, which will be helpful with CeeDee Lamb being out. And when CeeDee Lamb comes back, that's a really good 1-2 punch there from a wide receiver standpoint. So while some may have thought that CeeDee going out was a sign that John might fold it up and start to move some pieces around and start looking towards next year. Cortland Sutton adds in a really nice piece for this team to where maybe he's going to turn around and be competitive. He has that opportunity with the league where it's at. With the records where they're at, where they stand. So great move by John. When Tommy Barnes has all of the resources that he has in the wide receiver department, he's wiping his ass with $100 bills. So you don't have to get the full value for your player. You just get a player that you want. And eventually Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. might figure it out. They might not. Both those players really suck this year. So we'll see if that stack comes to play, or maybe it becomes trade bait for another trade scenario later on in the year. So 2 trades have been completed, but there's been a ton of noise around the league. Lots of people throwing around ideas. We've had some big bombs. We've had some small bombs. We've had some nonsense bombs. In reality, the market needs to adjust in this league. People are really overshooting the value of players. I think there's a lot of greed going around right now where people think that players are worth multiple first-round picks or, trying to get such heavy returns when all they did was get a player for a first-round pick in a rookie draft. So a lot of value being thrown around right now, but the fact of the matter is some teams don't have to sell right now. You might as well watch a player's value go up to obtain what their true value is. People don't want to sell low. You want to buy low, but there's no reason for people to sell low right now necessarily when you have an opportunity for their value to spike even higher. So right now it seems like people are trying to sell at high prices when their players are in low positions. So the market's a little bit difficult right now. Hopefully that adjusts back to norms and people start to look at first and second round picks as being valuable for top tier players, but that may never happen. Ultimately, we'll get down to when the cheese is really binding later in the season and people are making that final push. You start to see teams that are truly out of it. Right now, it's still too early. You don't want to make gigantic moves unless it's beneficial to both teams. You always want to make it beneficial to both teams, but you don't want to sell players and start looking to the next year when you're only a game back in the standings from the playoffs. So we'll see the market adjust itself and mature as time goes. Some people out there may never adjust, but that's okay. Let's get into last week. Week 3 was another good week. We had some more upsets, and let's go ahead and cue that music. So we've got Dame Judi Dench and John Wilkes-Tooth. John Wilkes-Tooth, new leader in the house for weekly points, overtakes with 149 points. Just a massive smackdown. Doesn't need Joe Burrow. Doesn't need George Kittle. That's no problem. Gets points all around from his player. Marcus Mariota fills in, gets 20-plus points, and then just lays the hammer down on the Dames. So gets a massive win. He was 0-2, so he gets up to 1-2. Shows that his team can perform and get those points from all across the board. Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Hunter Henry with a big game. Great job by John Wilkes-Tooth getting that $60 weekly prize, getting a win in the win column. Dame Judi gets Jalen Hurts, who proves that, yeah, he can throw the ball when he needs to throw the ball, but weakness across everywhere else. Nothing else with firepower that you'd expect from this team. Trouble in the flex spot, so only puts up 100 points, does not get the win, goes to 2-1. Undefeated team taken down. Laporta Potties with lose the battle, win the Warren. 92-59, low scoring affair, super low scoring on the lose the battle, win the Warren side. Jason and Garrett Wilson doing their thing. Marvin Harrison needs to figure this out. We saw him play last night, but he hadn't been doing all week. He contributed to an interception. He had drops in the beginning, but he eventually maybe saved his evening by getting a touchdown, but he has not looked good this year. Enough to get the win this week. Goff wasn't needed as much as the prior week. And then on the other side, 2 zeros in the stat column for lose the battle, win the war. And the team is led by Tyquan Thornton, who has had a good time there in Kansas City with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy being out. He's a big body, and Mahomes just chucks it up and hopes he comes down with the ball. Laporta comes down with the victory, 92-59. The Johnaria Flames, big last-second thing here with Best Healthy Twins. Best Healthy Twins wins 107-103. We had conversation around, do kickers make a difference? And yes, they do. Sure, one team can get 22 points for their kicker, but when your kicker misses an extra point and a 40-yarder and you lose by 4 points and you could have won from your kicker, That is fantasy football. That's the randomness we look for. Pick your kickers better. If you don't like your kicker, get a better kicker. Trade for a kicker. We will see a motion since kickers seem to play a role in this game from the commissioner to oust kickers immediately. Hopefully that does go to a vote and is not just dictator rule. We do have the CD injury. That's the other big factor here. CD goes down early and does not put up the points you expect from CD. But Caleb Williams looked great. Caleb Williams received in the trade in the offseason for CJ Stroud. Caleb doing what he did, but wasn't enough to take over for that CD injury. Jeremy McNichols with an awesome, massive run and getting points. A lot of factors went into this game. We don't want to overshadow the kicker piece of it. There were a lot of factors that contributed to what you could call an upset. These could be evenly matched teams going forward, but Best Healthy Twins gets up to 2-1 now, 2 wins in a row. And the Flames loses out on this one. Next game, Medusas versus Doge. Medusas came to party, 119-82. The running backs were the heroes here. CMC Monty had a massive game on Monday night, and Jordan Mason had a massive game, filling in with Aaron Jones being out. On the Doge side, Jahmyr Gibbs was the star. Didn't have Jaden Daniels this week. Justin Herbert didn't have the massive game or the big game that he had been putting up. No support for Gibbs right now. So 0-3 for Doge City. He's relying on Gibbs, doesn't have a strong second running back, and then the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons are not playing ball right now. Low scoring, gets shut out. So having Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Kyle Pitts, they need to turn it around for Doge to make an impact here. And even for some of those players' values to go up in the trade opportunity, hopefully they bounce back for the Doge and can get another running back to whether he folds at 0-3 or you're only a game back from the playoffs, Doge. So get that second running back and keep on playing. Medusa gets a win 119-82. 2-1 for Medusa, 0-3 for Doge. Pocket Bacon versus Scooter McGavin. This is the one that came down to it Monday Night Football, 89-96, low scoring, ugly matchup. Scooter gets the win by 7 points on Lamar, throwing to Mark Andrews, getting that touchdown to wrap up the game. Again, saved by Justice Hill on a very third and long, breaking tackles on a little dump down pass to make it happen. Josh Allen, Keenan Allen, the Allen boys are scoring it, but no other substantial support for the Pocket Bacon. Lamar does it. Neighbors was a letdown. So the trade for Neighbors, handing off Justin Jefferson, Justin Jefferson, and Devontae Smith. Smith with the good game in Philadelphia that we hadn't seen, and Neighbors getting locked down by Kansas City. You can blame Russ Wilson, but I think Steve Spagnuolo is really the one to applaud there for how to play Neighbors. That's going to happen across the league. They're going to see shadowing Neighbors and covering that over the top stuff. And Neighbors gets Jackson Dart now. So does that hurt his value or not? That remains to be seen. Barkley was quiet in this game. Gets the points, has the floor. James Cooks continue to cooks. He's going to be the number one running back for this team. You'd think it'd be Barkley, but Cook just keeps on scoring, keeps on getting points. And Buffalo's going to put up great scores as well. Not sure with Philadelphia. They seem to be in battles here to begin with. But Scooter gets the win, goes to 3-0, stays undefeated. It's ugly, but he makes it happen. John's Bussy at the Big Mac. The Big Mac gets the win. He goes to 2-1, 106-83. Marion Hampton comes in. Najee Harris tears the Achilles, and Hampton shows that he can carry this load and take it over. He has Trey Tucker and the Batman on the roster after speaking very highly. Must have talked himself out of it. Has no gut feeling for this team. They're on the bench, so that was a big factor. Trey Tucker, obviously, with 3 touchdowns, would have contributed to victory in this matchup. Big Mac, Gino is slinging it. He slogs it out. He gets the points there for Vegas. Devontae Smith picks him up, gets the points. Pickens is getting in the end zone. And Justin Jefferson gets you the points that you need. This team gets Jordan Addison back and is going to continue to be a threat. Great play, and Brian gets the win 106-83. Last game of last week, Hawk Tua at Cum Sale. Cum Sale is continuing to disappoint, not getting the production out of the quarterbacks. Hawk Tua wins 122-97. Amon Ra has a big game. A.J. Brown finally shows up since the Eagles had to throw the ball. Kinbone Walker gets great points. And then good, solid kicker play. Cortland Sutton and Pittman are producing as well. Sutton bounces back, and Pittman's playing well with Daniel Jones. On the other side, Stroud continues to suck. Nico Collins is playing well, though, despite Stroud not putting up the big points. He's getting the look, so he's getting solid play. J.K. Dobbins continues to score touchdowns for this team, so that's a great flex play picked up during the draft this year for the Cums. And Bijan, even though the Falcons suck, is still able to match the floor that he has and put up the points that he needs. Jamar Chase is going to be the question mark, continuing with Jake Browning, unless the Bengals decide to make a move for Jameis Winston, which we'd love to see that. Get the ball throwing again there in Cincinnati and get that offense kicking. But the Cum Sales drops another game and not matching their preseason hype was to be our undefeated team this year, and they are not putting up the points that we'd expect. So see if any shaking up happens with that team. If they make any plans to change their quarterback situation, they do have Sam Darnold, not the young one, on the team, but he's playing well in Seattle. That's the week 3 recap. Scooter goes to 3-0. Doge goes to 0-3. Everybody else in the middle at 2-1 and 1-2. Great to see. Good matchups. We'll see what happens in week 4. Week 4. First game of the week. Game of the week. John Wilkes Tooth versus Scooter Top G, our 2 top scorers from week over week facing off. This is a close matchup right now, 112 to 118 in Scooter's favor. Cam Ward is now in that quarterback spot for John Wilkes Tooth. Had Marcus Mariota fill in last week, but with Jaden Daniels likely back, Cam Ward is taking over and see if he can put up enough points for this JWT group. Again, lost Joe Burrow, lost George Kittle, didn't matter. Hunter Henry filled in great. Dalton Kincaid's an awesome fill-in as well out of Buffalo in that tight end spot. The running backs are cooking for this team right now, which is great to see. And the wide receivers, Roma Dunze is having a season. Ricky Pearsall is loving being the lead wide receiver there in San Francisco. So good opportunity here. What we need to see from Scooter, it's weird to say, what we need to see from Scooter is we need to see Barkley have a big game, come back after last week of having just a standard teens points, and Neighbors. Can Neighbors rebound with Jackson Dart? I'm going to go with John Wilkes Tooth. Let's go lock it up. Laporta versus Cum Sale. This is a money line toss-up, 115 to 116. I am adjusting. These points are based on prior projections to Thursday night's game, so it does not take into account what happened last night. What we got to look at here for Laporta, you know that he's going to get the action out of Achane and his wide receivers, but his flex spot is Josh Palmer and Trey Henderson. We have to see the utilization in that spot. Those, I think, are going to be the 2 key factors to determine how many points that Laporta can put up. Similar on the other side, you have Dobbins and Chubb. Dobbins has been rolling. Chubb is just on Houston's offense that has been really struggling. He can get some rushing yards, but he has to get in the end zone to put up meaningful points here. CJ Stroud is the other question mark. Do we throw in Sam Darnold? We did not. So it's going to be CJ Stroud yet again with that stack with Nico Collins to keep an eye on, and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase has got to put up big points here. This is the week. I think Cum Sale is going to bounce back, and we're going to lock both these teams in at 2 and 3, and yeah, both teams at 2 and 3. No, yes, no, 2 and 3. Man, we haven't played that many games. The mind is lost here today, ladies and gentlemen. Cum Sale, lock it up. We're going to stop talking about it. Pubic Medusa's versus Beth Healthy Twins. So Beth Healthy Twins keeps winning 2 in a row. This is currently 110 to 97 in the favor of Medusas. They lost Mike Evans. Insert Luther Burden, best pick of the draft, who was fantastic last week. 3 targets for a lot of yards and a touchdown. Had the bomb touchdown, long touchdown that contributed to most of the points. But he enters the scene to replace Mike Evans. Brock Purdy is now back, so we're not playing Mac Jones anymore. Still needs that tight end help. Theo Johnson is leading the charge, so that's going to be the weakness. Need to see if any transactions can happen to help in that tight end space. On the other side, Beth's Healthy Twins is currently monitoring Tet, currently on the bench. and running out Rashad White and Charbonnet, who we did see got a touchdown last night with Charbonnet. See what Rashad White does. And then tight end spot. Jonnu Smith is currently in the lineup. So when we're looking at the projections, this game might actually be a little bit more close once we see injury updates, because got to assume that Tet's got to go into that lineup. And then Mark Andrews, I would think, goes in the lineup after a huge week last week, but decisions to be made by Pat. So this will be a close matchup. Losing Mike Evans, he hadn't had a big week yet, really. Mecca Bubo has been taking over that offense for the most part, so I don't know if that's a huge loss, but replacing with Luther Burden, who is going to be that hot or not kind of play. So Medusa's got to hope that he stays hot. I'm going to go with Beth's Healthy Twins. Sorry, Medusas. We're locking it up. Beth's Healthy Twins takes that win. Who's about to win the Warren versus Hawk 2 at 87 to 116 in favor of the Hawks. So Devin Singletary might be in line for more work here. Good news for the win the Warren with the news of Tyrone Tracy going down, but it does seem like it is Scatabo's backfield. Tyquan Thornton again leading that charge until Rashid Rice comes back. Xavier Worthy may be in the lineup, but you got to think that Tyquan remains involved. He seems to be a favorite target from Mahomes, at least on the deep balls, but that's really what you're looking at for this team. You got Lad McConkey, you got Jamo Williams, but there's not much else. Tyler Warren came back down to earth a little bit last week, but has opportunity to score. There's just not enough firepower on this team to go up against what is the firepower of Hawk Tua. Things to look at for the Hawk is Dak is currently the starter right now. Does he move in Trevor Lawrence after getting that pickup? I doubt he's going to go with Tua just because of what Miami has done. But Dak loses CeeDee Lamb. Dak also loses another offensive lineman, so you imagine he's going to get pressure. So that hurts Dak's value. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence or Dak? Do you go with the stack? Do you go with the guy that you just paid an extra $2 to get and released Cortland Sutton? Hawk 2 is going to get the win. We're going to say that, but I think we got to see what this quarterback play looks like going forward. Hawk 2 will lock it up. Ciao. Pocket Bacon versus the Pocket Bussy. The double pocket action. Hot Pockets, 94 to 110 right now. So we're monitoring Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is not in the lineup right now. He's getting some deep bone bruise, muscle action, everything part of the body, but it's deep. You got to use the big scanners to get in there. Super deep. McLaurin is monitoring the help, not in the lineup right now. So right now we've got Horton. Here's a who from Seattle, and Christian Kirk in the lineup. Horton did play last night. Came off of a really awesome game with a punt return in the previous game, but did not do that much last night. So we have that in hindsight. Christian Kirk got Pacheco, who's not doing anything this season, but has the opportunity to play Kareem Hunt. Are you thinking about that, Harold? Like Kareem Hunt instead of Pacheco? Make that swap? I think I might start Kareem Hunt. He's looked better than Pacheco, but that's a decision to be made. Pocket Bussy, Trey Benson, massive letdown last night, proving that he is RB2 on this team, even with James Conner going down. Amari DeMarcado is the way to go. But you've got two guys now on this team that are freed up to try to be lead backs. So Benson did not take advantage of that, but Omarion Hampton did last week, so he'll continue to be the lead back in Charger Town. Free to run. Trey Tucker does make it into the lineup this week, but Bateman does not. So decision there from Marty, who is talking big games, would not stop touching me during Monday Night Football every time Bateman caught the ball, yet does not put him in the lineup this week. So how are you feeling about that? I just don't understand it. You're either high or you're not, and he's not anymore. He's cleansing. September cleanse month for Marty's Bussy. He's no longer boofing Zins, no longer just taking him straight up the bus, and Tucker instead of Bateman. Oh boy, can the Bussy do it? Yeah, the Bussy's going to do it. Bussy wins the match against the Bussy Bacon. Lock it up, Bussy. Big Mac versus the Doge. This is a surprisingly close game from a projection standpoint. 102 to 98 in favor of the Big Mac. Matt Stafford enters the chat with J.J. McCarthy down. Russ Wilson getting benched. So you're looking at half-staff Matt Stafford, who has got great weapons. He's got the Pookster. He's got the Tay Adams out there. He's got Kyron. That offense should be able to cook. So great play there by Big Mac, putting Stafford in the lineup. And he gets Jordan Addison back into that flex spot. So now he's good to roll with Chuba Hubbard and Travis Etienne. And now he's got 4 wide in the flex spot. So Addison and the new pickup Devontae Smith and George Pickens and Justin Jefferson. It's a lot of names there, a lot of great names there. That's surprised that he's only projected for 102 at this point. On the other side, the Doge, looks like it could potentially be competitive. He gets Jaden Daniels back, so that's exciting. Jaden has a high ceiling. Kinder Miller's still in that running back 2 spot, and then the Falcons. That's going to be telling the tale here for Doge's week is, can the Falcons figure out offense? If so, you've got Darnell, you've got Drake London, and you've got Kyle Pitts. If the Falcons figure out that they're playing football and not hockey, then maybe this is going to be an even matchup. Falcons are not going to figure that out. Big Mac is under projected right now. So Big Mac gets the win, goes to 3-1. Lock it up, Big Mac. DJD at the John Aria Flames. This one is 112 to 95 right now in favor of DJD. Did have Cooper Kupp let down last night. Really not looking good in that final flex spot for the Dames. Bouncing around between Cooper Kupp and Jerry Jeudy, the namesake, but Cooper Kupp lets it down. So that has now shifted to, I think, 107 to 95. Caleb Williams, we'll see if he can come back and do what he did last week, which looked fantastic. We'll see if he can return that effort. Javonte and Jalen have been steady Eddies, great running back play. And then added in Courtland Sutton, getting that late night Courtland Sutton deal for Trevor Lawrence. Didn't need Trevor Lawrence. So adding that in adds stability to this team from the wide receiver standpoint. And we'll see what that team can do. I think they're still kind of fiddling in there with the flex spots, but Sutton had a great week, bounce back last week, and evens this out, makes it less of a shift. With CD going out, it seemed like this might be a good week for Dames to pick up a third win. But the Dames side has not been able to be consistent. Has some great names, some great firepower between Henry and Kamara. Chase Brown has been really struggling since Joe Burrow's injury. I mean, even with Joe Burrow, is one of the least efficient runners in the league, so that name has not panned out. Tyreek is getting his groove back. DK Metcalf is just playing with Aaron Rodgers. It's feast or famine out there. But we have Brandon Aubrey. We've got Brandon Aubrey, and we're looking to go 2 weeks in a row where we're live and die by Ron Sword's kickers kind of thing. So we're going to go with Dame Judi Dench because every single week we are the host and we're going to pick ourselves. If you can't bet on yourself, there's no point in betting at all. Dame Judi Dench gets the win and survives the Courtland Sutton deal, goes to 3-1. DJ, lock it up. Derrick Henry will not fumble this week, please. That is it. That is week 4 at a glance. We'll get this Paude out to you this evening, and hopefully everybody has a good week going in. Let's keep the trade flow moving. Send those bombs around, but really try to look at the value of your team. Stop using calculators. You don't need a calculator. You are the calculator. We've been in Dynasty for 5 years now. You understand a player's value. You understand what it means to your team. You understand what it means to the other team. Calculators can only go so far. They don't know the dynamic of what is the Public Honors College of Fantasy Football League. They're a good guide. They're a good guide. Don't shit on it too much. You can look at rankings on Fantasy Pros or whatever your outlet is. You can use the Dynasty Trade Calculator. You can use Keep Trade Cut for the crowdsourced options. But at the end of the day, those calculators don't tell you the sentiment of the league. Come up with your own ideas. Come up with your own narratives and share those narratives with your fellow team owners around the league and get a good deal. It's not about taking advantage of the other team. It's about figuring out ways that it makes your team better today, the other team better today or tomorrow. This is a dynasty league, so picks go a long way. So let's shake it up. Let's shake it up. We're at a place right now where everybody's beating up on each other. We can either keep that going or we can make some big moves and try to get teams scoring more than 120. John Wilkes was the outlier so far this year with a 149. We love to see that, but this league historically has people putting up 160, 170. We lost the defenses, so that'll contribute anywhere from 10 to 15 points potentially for some of those higher scores. But let's get some Let's get some play going again. We're asking you, NFL, Roger Goodell, nerf in this league. We want fantasy points. That's excitement. We don't want these teams winning in the 80s and 90s. We want the big scores. So let's bring it in week 4. Good luck to everybody. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you to the sponsors of the podcast, Cum Paude, Dude Wipes, and Undercover Condoms. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Say goodnight, Fermi. Good night, Fermi.
Thank you for listening to the official podcast of the Public Honors College Fantasy Football League. Cum quickly, cum often, and cum loud.